Your baby cries at 3 a.m. You pick them up, and within 60 seconds, they stop. Every time. Most parents think that is about comfort, a familiar smell, a warm body. And that is partly true, but something is happening underneath that you cannot see. And once you understand it, the way you think about nighttime parenting changes completely. Your baby does not cry at night because they are manipulating you. They cry because their nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is looking for a co-regulator, a body that is already calm, already breathing slowly, already safe, so that it can borrow that state and come back down. That mechanism has a name, it has a biology, and it explains more about infant sleep than almost anything else you will read on the subject. In the next few minutes, we are going to look at what actually happens inside your baby's brain when you are not there, what cortisol does to a developing nervous system, why some babies cannot self-soothe before a certain age no matter what you try, and why the advice most Western parents receive about infant sleep leaves this entire picture out. When your baby is born, their brain is not finished. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for self-regulation, calm decision-making, the ability to manage distress, is roughly 25% developed at birth. It will not reach full development until the mid-20s. This is not a flaw. It is by design. The human infant brain is built to finish developing outside the womb, in close contact with a caregiver. What that means in practice is this. When your baby wakes at night and you are not there, their brain does not process it as inconvenience. It processes it as threat. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, fires. The body releases cortisol, heart rate climbs, breathing shallows. The nervous system shifts into survival mode. And because the prefrontal cortex is not yet developed enough to talk the amygdala down, there is no off switch. The cortisol keeps rising until the threat is resolved. Researchers at the University of Notre Dame, led by Dr. James McKenna, have spent decades studying infant-mother sleep pairs. What they found is that when a mother and infant sleep in proximity, their sleep cycles synchronize. The mother's breathing regulates the infant's breathing. Her body temperature stabilizes the infant's temperature. Her arousal patterns cue the infant's own arousals. The infant is not just sleeping near someone. Their brain is using that person as biological scaffolding. This is often misread as dependency when it is in fact development. Here is where it gets specific. Cortisol in small, brief doses is normal and healthy. It is how the brain learns to handle stress. But cortisol in sustained doses, the kind produced when an infant cries without a response, acts differently. It does not teach the baby to self-soothe. It teaches the brain that stress is unresolvable. Dr. Wendy Middlemiss published research in 2012 tracking cortisol levels in infants during sleep training. What she found was striking. By the third night, the infants had stopped crying. Most parents would read that as success. The problem is that the infant's cortisol levels had not dropped. They had learned to stop signaling, but their stress response was still fully activated. The behavior changed, the biology did not. This does not mean sleep training always causes harm. The research on long-term outcomes is genuinely mixed, but it means that crying stopping is not the same as stress stopping. Those two things are not the same signal. What proximity does, specifically nighttime proximity, is interrupt that cortisol loop before it becomes chronic. The infant's alarm fires, the caregiver responds, the amygdala gets the signal that the threat has been resolved, cortisol drops, the nervous system resets. Over thousands of repetitions across the first year of life, that reset becomes the foundation of a regulated nervous system. This is often considered teaching dependence, but instead it is the architecture for independence. You have probably heard this phrase, teach them to self-soothe. It is presented as though it is simply a skill babies have but are not using, as though with the right method you can unlock it. The biology tells a different story. Self-soothing requires the prefrontal cortex to override the amygdala. It requires a developed enough neural pathway to say, "I am safe, nothing is actually wrong, I can come back down." That pathway does not exist at 4 months. It barely exists at 8 months. For most babies, it begins to form reliably somewhere between 9 and 12 months. And even then, it is fragile and context-dependent. Asking a 4-month-old to self-soothe is a bit like asking someone to use a muscle they do not yet have. The muscle is coming, but it is not there yet. And the way you build it is not through repeated solo activation attempts in the dark. You build it through repeated co-regulation with a calm, responsive caregiver. That is the template the brain is copying. This does not mean you will be in your child's room every night until they are 7. Developmental readiness matters, age matters, temperament matters. But the framing that proximity at night creates long-term sleep problems is not supported by cross-cultural data. Countries where co-sleeping is the norm do not produce children with worse sleep outcomes. They produce children who simply transitioned differently. The goal is not to get your baby sleeping alone as fast as possible, but to enable a regulated nervous system. Those are different targets, and the path to one does not require the other. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. When your baby cries at night and your body pulls you toward them, don't consider yourself weak. It also doesn't mean that you are failing to hold a boundary. As a matter of fact, it is your nervous system responding to your baby's nervous system the way it was designed to. 2 biological systems doing exactly what they are supposed to do. The discomfort comes from the advice sitting on top of the biology, from the idea that responding is spoiling, that closeness creates dependence, that the faster you teach your baby to be alone at night, the better the outcome. The research does not support that cleanly. And in the next video, we are going to look at what the research actually does say. All of it, including the parts that complicate the easy answers on both sides. If this landed for you, like and subscribe. There is more coming that connects this picture all the way through.